The 90s, the birth of the internet, the handover of Hong Kong, and the Norwegian butter crisis has yet to happen. But in the world of video games, the 90s was a crucial decade. It's considered the decade of innovation, a decade of massive leaps in technology and game design. With these improvements come research and development, experimentation, which led to the growth of multiple genres and franchises. A byproduct of this decade is Vib Ribbon. Released in 1999, Vib Ribbon is a rhythm game that innovated the genre while providing a familiar experience. I'd even claim it defied expectations that were present due to the rapid advances in gaming. A bit excessive, but considering its success despite Sony of America's idiotic take on 2D games, that's a case in point. And thanks to these points, I firmly believe that we'll never have another game like Vib Ribbon. But for my biased take to make sense, let's look back and first talk about... But why start with this, I hear you ask? For two things. First is context, to understand where the game is coming from. Second is nuance, to see how different it is to other games. Let's start in the 70s. According to Wikipedia, the genre began with Kansei Seikisei Sakusha's rhythm-based electromechanical arcade machines, and that one of the ideas was a game where you'd lift girls' skirts in time to some rhythm. What the fuck? In all seriousness, I read through the reference material and it never confirmed that this game existed. Rather, it's a sample idea on how they made a game. But considering the craziness of Showa-era Japan, I'm inclined to believe this happened. Next is the electronic handheld game Simon, created in 1978. The game uses a call and response mechanic where players take turn repeating an increasingly difficult pattern of button presses. This same mechanic would later be one of the main foundations for rhythm video games. Our next stop is in 1987. Dance Aerobics for the Nintendo Entertainment System was released. This game is peculiar. It was designed with the use of the NES Power Pad in mind. Despite the music video game designation, it's more of a proto-rhythm game. The game's main focus is, well, aerobics plus the other minigames it has which involves music. It doesn't possess the expected mechanics or game modes we know from the genre. 1996 is the real start of the genre with the release of Parappa the Rapper, developed by Nana Onsha for the PS1. The game is credited as the first true rhythm game. Parappa took the call and response mechanic and properly incorporated it in video games. Players must rap through 6 stages by repeating the button patterns on screen. The music was explicitly made for the game and are tied to the plot. It had a story, funny characters, and a wonderful presentation style. For the next point in history, I'm cheating, as a lot happened. The success of Parappa sparked the popularity of the genre, and a lot of games joined the hype. Most of these games are what I call the music-focused rhythm games. They eschew the plot and characters that Parappa had in favor of focusing on gameplay and music. These games have a vast collection of songs with their own specific presentation styles. Developers would also experiment with different input or control styles, resulting in multiple peripherals in the form of instruments for an immersive but empty wallet experience. And lastly, 1999. Before the release of Vib Ribbon, Nana Onsha released Jammerlammy, a follow-up to Parappa the Rapper. It shifted away from rap and focused more on rock music and guitar playing. It has its own plot and characters while set in the same universe as Parappa's, but has nearly the same gameplay and presentation style. Which finally leads us to... Vib Ribbon takes certain elements from previous games and puts it in a neat monochrome package. It also abandoned the plot and characters to concentrate on gameplay and music. But it didn't have a huge song catalog, nor did it try to sell extra peripherals. Some might call it a simple experience, but its simplicity is one of its strong points as it lets the game do one thing and do it really well. No distractions or fluff, just you and the game. Aside from that, Vib Ribbon makes full use of every feature and pixel it has and utilizes them efficiently. The most conspicuous aspect of Vib Ribbon is the minimalistic presentation. Gone are the vibrant colors and distinct designs of the previous games. Instead, there's a dominant color scheme of black and white, vector graphics to make drawings and shapes, and proper application of depth for that 3D impression. While this may look like a game from the previous generations, you couldn't be any more wrong. Despite the lack of a lot of things, Vib Ribbon's presentation manages to come off as stylized, charming, and unique. And this is all thanks to their imaginative application of the graphics. For starters, the intro is the only fever dream I want to experience in my life. The main character, Vibri, is one of the most adorable characters to date. The fact that they managed to turn a series of lines into one of the cutest and most expressive characters in gaming, that deserves a Nobel Prize. She reads the menu. She lazes around, she has fun while you're having fun. Heck, she even celebrates your high scores. Such a shame that we can't read it because it's written in some ancient esoteric font. However, the expressiveness goes both ways. Fail to get her through an obstacle and she screams. Mess up some more and she regresses into lesser beings. But worst of all, you can make her cry with the game over. So, if you don't want to feel like you committed a horrendous crime, let's talk about gameplay. VibRibbon uses the aforementioned call and response gameplay. However, instead of having buttons on the screen, you have visual cues that blend with the presentation style. The same can also be said for the UI and other elements in-game. For example, Vibri's transformations act as a health indicator, and if you don't get hit for some time, she transforms to Super Vibri, netting you extra points. The line below is your track indicator, and I already talked about these moon runes, let's move on. Going back to the visual cues, they are the obstacles that appear on the track and it requires a corresponding button press to get through. These are L1 for blocks, R1 for loops, X for waves, and down for pits. In harder difficulties, two obstacles are combined, signaling for a simultaneous button press. VibRibbon has 3 difficulties, with each level containing 2 tracks for a total of 6 tracks. While the amount of tracks are limited, they're an amazing concentration of music. And even better, they're great representations of how the gameplay is. Let me explain. VibRibbon creates obstacles while taking into consideration the elements of a track such as its tempo, rhythm, beats, and frequency changes. This means how a piece of music sounds and feels dictate how it translates into gameplay. Going back to the 6 tracks, they were created by J-pop band Laugh in Peace, and they did a great job as they managed to avoid creating a homogenized sound. Each track has their own feel and personality. This not only helps them stand out as pieces of music, but also successfully translates to the game's progression. But I know what you're thinking. 6 tracks isn't enough, there's not enough replayability. Remember when I said that this game innovated? Thanks to the perseverance of the game's producer and designer Masaya Matsuura, as well as the wonderful developers at Nanaonsha, VibRibbon was given an infinite lease on life. This is due to their findings on the PS1 as well as their implementation of the game. First, the game's software is loaded into RAM, letting players have free use of the physical disc tray, like, say, putting in a music CD. And second, the programmers were able to find a way to analyze CD audio using the PS1's hardware, and use it for the game. And remember when I said about how the obstacles are generated based on the elements of a track? That means you can use any audio CD in your music collection and play them in-game. What is now one of the best features of modern indie rhythm games was introduced by VibRibbon. And in a time where games were not bombarded by ludicrous amounts of DLC, VibRibbon gives power to the player, the power of freedom to experience the game however they want. An infinite experience all stored in a video game from 1999. And thanks to modern technology and emulation, this is all made easier. You too can experience this power despite the lack of the physical console or copy of the game. And if you don't mind, let me share some of my favorite tracks to use in-game. Vib Ribbon is a game that was ahead of its time. It weathered the rapid developments in gaming and stood its ground. Not only was it a fun and innovative experience, it made a spot for itself in history. This is only one of the reasons why I believe this game is so special. Despite the great variety of games in the genre today, which contain most if not more of the features of Vib Ribbon, they can't fully replicate what the game has to offer. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking since it's one hell of a drug, but unlike most games, Vib Ribbon is not just about the gameplay or the tracks. It's more than pattern memorization and listening to sound. Its implementation is non-detrimental to the musical or gaming aspects. Instead, it's another way to experience music. This is the reason why I firmly believe that we'll never have another game like Vib Ribbon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi there! If you like what you saw, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Doing so helps the channel grow tremendously. If you want to further support the channel, I have a Ko-fi page with some behind the scenes stuff and a Twitter at KenAthemus. Links are in the description. Take care!